This is Trevor Milton. He's a tech bro who told everyone that he built a fully functional electric semi-truck that would change the world. He took his company Nikola public with a SPAC and got super rich overnight. The only problem is that that fully functional electric truck would be better described as an inoperable pile of garbage. And now he's spending 4 years in federal prison for lying to investors. It's a prime example of when fake it till you make it goes wrong. And in today's video, we'll look at 7 other tech bros who had to do hard time. So hopefully you can learn something and not get caught by the law with your own shady business ideas. It is March 29th, 2024, and you're watching The Code Report. A little over a year ago, this guy was one of the richest people in the world, with an 11-figure net worth. But just a few days ago, Sam Bankman-Fried was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. Bankman's crypto bank, FTX, lent billions of dollars in customer funds to Alameda Research, a trading firm founded by himself. When crypto went down in 2022, those trades didn't do too well, and the entire house of cards collapsed.
The money in your account, it didn't do too well, it's gone.
FTX got so big in part because of its aggressive marketing that had promoters like Tom Brady, Steph Curry, and a whole bunch of YouTubers. But the bigger the scam, the harder it falls. Despite making major political donations, also in violation of the law, the totally honest and not corrupt politicians decided it was best to let Bankman fry. While most tech bros tend to be men, it's also true that most prisoners are men as well. But there are courageous women in tech breaking the glass ceiling and also breaking bad. Elizabeth Holmes was once called the next Steve Jobs, and her company Theranos put her in the Forbes 400. They produced a revolutionary blood testing product that could run medical diagnostics with just a few drops of blood without the need to take a full blood sample. Investors poured tons of money into this amazing product, but the only problem is the product didn't actually work like she said it did. When people found out, the company collapsed, and eventually she was sentenced to 11 years in prison, which was later reduced to 9 years. Defrauding investors is one way to go to prison, but it's not the only way. Anthony Levandowski is a brilliant engineer who co-founded Google's self-driving car program, Waymo, which gave him access to some of Google's highly protected trade secrets. He went on to form a self-driving truck company called Otto, which was later acquired by Uber for $680 million. Before leaving Google, Levandowski downloaded a bunch of Waymo's confidential files, which included things like blueprints and hardware schematics. Later, one of Waymo's suppliers was accidentally copied on an email that showed how Uber was copying Waymo's LiDAR design. Google sued Uber, but the Department of Justice also filed criminal charges against Levandowski. He was sentenced to 18 months in prison and had to pay a $95,000 fine, but luckily got a presidential pardon from Donald Trump. Now, normally I like to tell kids that crime doesn't pay, but in his case, it was probably worth it. A good saying in life is it's not what you know, but who you know. And Raj Rajaratnam is a good example of this. He was a hedge fund manager with deep connections to big tech, companies like Intel, IBM, AMD, and many others. He too became one of the richest men in the world, thanks to his brilliant trading strategy that relied on confidential information from tech insiders. Unfortunately, this strategy is illegal, and he was arrested in 2009 for insider trading and sentenced to 11 years in prison. Insider trading is a great infinite money glitch, but you can really only get away with it if you're in politics. My advice is to just follow the trades of Congress and do as they do. That is financial advice, by the way, although I am not qualified to give it. I'd be extremely disappointed, though, if you went to prison without using the programming skills you've learned on this channel. Max Butler, also known as Max Vision or Iceman, was a cybersecurity consultant who did penetration testing. While doing work on federal government websites, he installed a backdoor on a bind server daemon, which is a set of tools for managing the phone book of the internet, the domain name system. He was eventually caught by the Air Force and sentenced to 18 months in federal prison, but he didn't stop there. Undeterred, he continued to develop his hacking skills and launched a website called Carter's Market, where criminals could illegally trade stolen credit card details. The website was responsible for $86 million in fraudulent purchases. In 2007, he was arrested and sentenced to 13 years in prison and ordered to pay $27 million in restitution. At the time, it was the longest prison sentence ever handed down for hacking. That punishment may seem harsh, but it's nothing compared to Ross Ulbricht. In 2011, he launched a website built with PHP. He was likely inspired by all the other PHP developers out there driving Lambos. His website was unique, though, because it allowed anyone to trade any type of good without any type of regulation anonymously with cryptocurrency. It was a true free market that was used to facilitate all kinds of illegal activity. The website was only online for about 2 years, but had a sales volume of nearly 10 billion bitcoins. Back then, one bitcoin was only a few bucks, but in today's money, with bitcoin at $69,420, Ross would easily be the richest man in the world, but unfortunately he got caught. In the early days, he used his personal email to promote the Silk Road, which investigators used to identify him. On the website, he was known as Dread Pirate Roberts, but in 2013 was arrested at a public library in San Francisco while logged into the Silk Road as an admin. This case was a huge embarrassment to the feds in the war on drugs, and Ross ultimately received 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole plus 40 years. He'll die in prison for creating a PHP website. PHP haters say that's justified, but many believe his sentence is too harsh, and that gives us 7 tech bros who went to prison. Huge shout out to the US Department of Justice and the for-profit prison industry for making this video possible. And if you want to learn how to accept payments in your own application, check out my brand new course on Fireship.io that will teach you everything you need to know about implementing payments into a software as a service product. This has been the Code Report. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.